Aloha, welcome to the Hawaii Connection. My name is Bronson Castle. We are on episode 5. I'm here with none other than Coach Bob Fitzgerald. Thank you, Bob, so much for joining us today.
Absolutely, Bronson. You know, it's always good memories to see you and your energy and effort in being, our leaders of tomorrow. So it's a pleasure working with you, Bronson.
Thank you. So off the top of the bat here, why are you running for mayor? Why now?
Well, why now? You have some legitimacy of why now. You know, back in the 80s, I thought about doing that. And I thought, no, there's no chance. And then I was with West Hawaii Youth Council and saw how frustrating I got. We did a lot of things that we built parks and we worked with the county government. And I got very frustrated. And then I really thank Billy Kanoy for giving me the opportunity. Did not know him, making me as my park director, and got in the government and see what it's actually all about. And last summer I was driving down at the old airport playing senior softball. There were a bunch of needles on the baseball field. The dirt felt a lot of cat manure was on there. The porta potties were the bathrooms. The place looked disgusting. And knowing from the inside, and I know that we had Maka'eo Park ready to almost be greened up and look like our Ala Moana Beach Park on the west side. And when I drove back to Waikoloa, I saw where Kalakaua Regional Park should be. And it really made me think, you know, the only way things are going to continue to get done, because I know they came close in the Kanoe administration, and it just gave me the energy. I don't want to say I did not try, because I love this island. I love the whole island, not just Kona, but I just thought I could make a difference. And I look at my leadership skills from coaching football and being in all the communities playing senior softball, being the parks director. Remember, the Kanoe administration had 50 meetings across this island, listening to communities. And I think that's going to be my strength, going to communities, listening, and getting the job done. So I'm really excited about it. I want to make a difference. And, you know, I have passion. And I think that's the thing. Right now, my stomach a little upset. And if you ever played football, right before that game, when you have butterflies and they go away once you start contact, you know you made the right decision. And that's my decision. And that's how I was earlier. I'll have butterflies and bingo, bang. You know, I'm ready to go and get things done.
Thank you, Bob. Now that you said why you're running, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where you're born? How long have you been on the island?
Born and raised LA area. Third generation there. Florist, actually. My grandma was in the flower business. My dad took it over after World War II, and it just so had went to a really nice high school, Loyola High School of Los Angeles. Got a football scholarship to Colorado State. That's where I played football at. Traveled a couple years. Came back from Central America and enrolled in San Diego State and got my degree in environmental planning and transportation, and had a chance to run an orchid plantation in Hawaii. And that was 1976. And March of 77, I was on a plane to run an orchid plantation in Hawaii. So I came here with the job, and once I landed, I went, wow. Look at this place, how beautiful it is. And then I always thank Coach Jim Barry giving me opportunity to coach high school football at Kona Waina. Once I did, I wouldn't trade those years at Kona Waina for anything. That old big tree on the Malka side of the field, and the Johnny Raposas, and then the winning streak. It was just really good that this was home for me. And so I did that. I had my flower business. I also worked a lot of years with Wyndham Resorts. I worked a lot of years with Hilton. I was the parks director for the County of Hawaii. And I was over 25 years my own business and farmer. So I have a pretty range of what it takes to be on this island, whether you be a farmer, whether you be a small business, what the big guys are looking for, big corporations, and what county and state government works. You know, as I got to Kona Waina, I was a special education teacher, and I'm real passionate about mixing the DOE with our county government. Sometimes they work as different ones. And the president of the West Hawaii Youth Council for over 20 years, still a board member of WEPAC, play senior softball, play lots of basketball. And I'm very active in regular sports and like the great outdoors also. So I feel like I got enough experience, and both in my background, because my one thing about when I grew up in Los Angeles, I had a lot of quality people give me. And once Coach Barry asked me to coach at Conahuina, I realized why they gave and now why I give. And I always thank Wally Lau about a saying, some people take, some people give. And I like the hands down that you give. And we'll take that philosophy to our government.
Thank you, Bob. Now, if elected mayor, what will we expect from a Fitzgerald administration?
Transparency, for one. Want a great relationship with the council. I'd like to work it as one rather than two separate governments. Community meetings across this island and go into the communities and listen. Have an A team, which is on these community meetings to get things done. Similar what they try to do, only when we have a catastrophe, we put a group together to try to get the job done. I'm talking about almost everything that I will do. If there's an issue that comes up in these community meetings, we have an A team. A team is something that's going to get the job done within 2 days or 6 months. A B team is things that I can promise right then and there that will get done in my administration. And the C team is projects that are going to take longer than my 4 years, but they're going to be in better shape and left off and handed off to the next person still in order to go forward. I'm not going to hide anything, and not that it's been done in the past. I'm going to be hands-on. I'm very passionate about what I do. If you go back to my football days, the first 2 years, I called every single play, offense, defense, and special teams, and that's how I'll attack this government. I'll have quality people working for me. I'll give them trust, but I'll be hands-on.
This year has seen troubling times with the COVID-19 pandemic. If you were mayor, what would you have done differently than the current administration?
Heartfelt to everybody with the COVID. I lost two very good persons. I hear people saying it's conspiracy and all this. I lost two very good special people to this virus. A very best friend had kids in his early 40s, doctors that almost died. So the realization of being cautious was there from way back when it very first happened. My brother-in-law and sister both had the virus back, and they figured out now it was in December and January. They're ski instructors in Aspen, and got the virus. They just found that out like 3 weeks ago that they had it twice, and it's been there for a little while. So I would, and the only thing, I love Mayor Kim. Mayor Kim and I go back to, he's Coach Barry's brother-in-law. And so I love the man. Nobody gives more time than he has. I think I would have acted a little quicker because I knew it was very serious. They say wait for the scientists and wait for that. I knew right before my best friend said, Bob, this is serious. My brother-in-law, this is serious. And then one person died back in February 28th. I had my first death by it. So I knew it was coming on, and I respected the state to dig in and grab on. I hear a lot of pros and cons about what we're doing, but definitely would have taken the step earlier. And as another token, as we got through and cut things off, I probably would be back open a little sooner and working with getting it open because, that level line that I think Josh Green has a pretty good handle on. So not a lot, start a little earlier, probably would open things up a little quicker, but the seriousness of watching these New York, that's not fake news, and it directly affects me. So hearts out to the people, those first responders that have been out there in the field with masks on. We all know right now, we put a mask on, my glasses fog up, it's hard to breathe, and these guys are working all day long like that. So a lot of love and prayers to them.
Hiring freezes are currently in discussion in Hilo. As mayor, will you implement a hiring freeze for the county with considering like environmental management and parks and recreations, have employee shortages? So hiring freezes, would you support it?
I don't support it, and the same thing with the furlough part. I mean, maybe my administration, the people that I hire, the people at the top, could give back and like we did with the Kanoy administration. But I believe the employees that are out there need to be paid. I need that if we have hires, especially in those two departments, that's one reason one of my passion is our parks and their disarray because they don't have enough help, staff, and equipment. That would be more of a priority for me, especially environmental management. We have too many federal regulations out there. People are conscious about our environment, and I wouldn't be looking at that. The basic worker out there, if I'm elected, don't worry. I wouldn't propose furloughs to them, and I would like to, whoever's there on the books need to be hired to get those positions filled, as long as we can do it with the budget. Remember, as mayor, I'm going to walk into an existing budget, so I'm going to have to live with where we are right then and there.
COVID-19 also caused certain unknowns with the county budget, and whoever gets elected come either August or November has to take on that role. And you're usually, and you might have more experience than I do, but the budget of this current year would be for all the way till 2022, if I'm not mistaken. So you would have to take on the budget after the next 2 years.
No, I believe it would go through the fiscal year, which would be June 30th. That would be locked in.
That's right. Yep.
Right. The new mayors, the new administration would come in. That would be, which first year we walked in, we're doing a great budget, everything going. That second year in the administration, we went from $35 million in parks, I believe, to $25 million in parks. And we did furloughs and we did everything. So I've been through some very important meetings on how we can cut budget. And Deanna Sacco, she's a mainstay for the county. She's been through a lot of administration. When I watch their 55 channel, she's still the one making decisions, telling Mayor Kim, she tells Mayor Kanoy how we're going to do it between. So I would rely, on that part of our government is not broken, where we can get the money to keep the high credit and going. So it's going to be sitting there and getting your hands dirty quickly, working with every department, what consultants we can back off on. But I'm not going to try to change that budget by cutting hours for our hardworking employees.
What would you add into capital improvement projects?
Capital improvement, you don't have to add anything. I mean, if I recall, and it's been a few, and I looked at it a couple months. I look at the capital. There's a line item for about everything you can imagine for capital improvements. That's what's misleading. Oh, we got a line for it, but is it funded? And that's the thing you're going to have to look at, and that's going to be leadership. And make a commitment on capital improvement when we're looking at unknowns of our tourism industry. And I think that's the biggest thing, the big economic hit, and also losing the TAT tax from the state. Is you're going to have to sit down and really prioritize and what line item can we fund. The line is there. It's just a matter of getting the money. So it's hard to make a commitment on. I mean, one of the things that Mayor, if you took last year, God, look at all the money we can go in and just get things done. Build this park, build that park, get the energy to waste system going, a lot of things, and had to back off the last few months. Part of the things that I think every candidate is going to feel, whoever wins this election is going to say, wow, I wish I would have had it 2 years ago when things are good. But good leadership comes in tough times, and I hope I can be that guy to get through the tough time, to put a line item on capital. It's already there. It's a matter of prioritizing what we have left at that time when I'm elected to get there. And you just, I'll be transparent with everyone on why we would do this one and not this other.
The council almost approved Bill 101, which would greatly reduce county personnel usage of pesticides. As controversial as the decision is, would you sign Bill 101 if you were mayor, or would you veto it?
Looking at the details, and I'm wrong person to ask. I've used Roundup. I had a farm. single guy having taken care of 5 acres and kids and 2 businesses. So I've used Roundup, and I go back to my other friends that were in NOM that were next to Roundup and having prostate cancers and all the other things. So I'm the wrong person to ask because I've been a user, but do as I say, not as I do, because I would probably sign Bill 108. And I know it's harder for our employees to get the job done, and that's the other thing I would look at on Bill 108. I do not support just hitting Roundup after seeing all the long-term effects that what it does to people at an older age, and we're doing it at our parks. And can we be very creative? Can community groups do projects to help parks out or help roadways out to pull weeds or weed whip? And you can't. They're going to be doing a man machine as part of our union. It's going to be a union worker there, and so the cost goes up. And if the public is willing to maybe donate some extra time, or community groups that use our park. Yes, everybody knows I'm great with Friends of the Park and working with charities and community groups. Hey, because people care. People care about their community. And if you ask anybody, I just saw somebody the other day, she lived in 8 different areas around the island, and she made a great quote. I go, where do you like now? She's in Hilo, and I love Hilo because that's where I live, but wherever community I am, I love that area. And I think 95% of the people, wherever they live, they have pride in that area that want to take care of it. So Bill 108 would be signed for me because I thought public opinion and everybody wanted that to be signed. I felt like it got a kind of railroad there at the end. But I understood why Mayor Kim signed it, vetoed it rather, but I wouldn't have vetoed that. I thought public opinion was it's time to step up the big poison companies. We weren't taking Joe Farmer and saying he can't spray. You were just talking about our government using it. And I thought that's why it would have been okay to go ahead and sign that, because, it's affected, at my age, there's a lot of guys I know that have had prostate cancer be exposure of Agent Orange in Vietnam. And that's no fun. And if you look at the long-term effects, I felt very sorry that bill passed. I felt the letdown of everybody more so than anything else. And that's part of good leadership too. There's a chemistry of any winning team. And I thought the chemistry of that was a big blow when it got vetoed down.
There's a lot of moving parts with the homelessness issue, but I would love to hear what your take is on it.
Yeah, homelessness is tough. One of the things that I would bring in, and I don't know if you're going to bring this up, but for our parks, and is an issue with homeless besides other places. And I think parks, what we're lacking is park rangers to work, rather than always have police show up, to have park rangers at our parks for homelessness. But it's threefold. It's working with the state health department and those mental institutions, the ones that are in the street that you can't relate to, they're out there, that are troubled, that we need to keep helping them. One of the things I would do is make sure we have people on them to give them the transportation, because that's one of the things we're lacking is, that they sit at a place and they only can go a few feet. And then there's a group that people are tough times, that they lost their job, they're on the streets, and get them to some type of transitional housing and be able to make them make that next step. And those two are the most. The next thing, you go to affordable housing after that part. But I like the idea of them, if they were willing and able, to have them in a defined place and give them nice shelter. I heard something about cutting containers up and how much money it costs. Give them little mini homes, a place where we know where they're at, so we can get the social services to them, we can get the food, we can get the mental health parts. And I'm kind of a believer in if we can get them in one spot, in different places around the island, of course, every area's got it, where we can help them. And my heart's out to the churches and the people that deal with that on a day, because it's a daily fight. And it's not an easy win. It's not just our county, it's all the counties, especially in the winter time when it seemed like we get an influx of more. But I'm very passionate about getting it, John, but I don't want to do it at the expense of our parks. and I don't want to do it at the expense of some businesses. So we have to work with the local business communities, with our parks, with the community groups, as there are people out there doing, and we just got to stay on it, and we all work together. It's been how long? 20 years? We've always had a homeless issue, and it's always part there, and it's still sitting there. So it's a matter of having good leadership to get in there and giving those groups. That's an A-team effort, by the way. That would be an A-team of mine, getting in there in each community. This is how we're working for this. And do we need somebody to say hi? And I know some of the homeless guys. I got a couple players down there that my heart is for, down at the old airport that played for me, that are down there. And, they like being there. They don't want to leave. So it's a tough issue, and it's not going to be a win for any administration. It's just going to be a fight.
Now, you kind of touched a little bit on that, but I want to, what's your thoughts on Kukui'ola that's going to be right next to the regional park in Kona?
My thoughts on it initially, I don't remember a community meeting and everybody coming forward and saying, oh, this is where it's going to be. Because I believe it shouldn't be next to the regional park. I think it should be somewhere else. But as I understand it, I may be wrong on this, the state funding is there. They already had it earmarked. It's part of the EA to get the regional park done and the homeless shelter. So I'm not a big fan of it, but it looks like Mayor Kim took that direction. I don't see stopping something that's already there. But I do question that, where are they going to, it's far away from the recycling places to get the, money. It's part of our park. There's homes and schools there. So I'm not a big fan of it, but I believe it's already too far along to pull the plug. And I just don't remember a community meeting and everybody saying, yeah, let's put it there. It seemed like it got thrown down our throats to get it down there. And so I'm upset about that. But without being in there in those meetings, I don't know if we can relocate it. So I think whoever the next mayor is could be stuck on adjusting it, and we do, we make it, we adjust, we can.
A Kona resident asks, what ideas do you have? And if elected mayor, what will you do to address the affordable housing crisis facing our county?
Affordable housing, I like the idea of affordable housing still being affordable. And I know I live in Waikolo. I've seen something at Kamakoa Nui, nice project, and I've seen some homes out there all of a sudden sold for not longer affordable. I like the idea of a housing coalition or land bank holding the deed and title of our housing projects, where 5 years from now, the person, if they stay at some type of a minimum term, adjust. But we want a place that we give them affordable housing. They go in there, and if they're going to sell the affordable housing, it's got to be affordable to the next person. And I think the only way that can done is keep a deed and title or the financing or the project in one land bank or housing coalition. And I don't necessarily say the county hold it, but to work with private industry to make it a win-win for both, for the construction industry, for the ultimate person that's got an affordable place to go in and call it his home for a period of time. And if you were going to take the next step up, if you're going to go like a Kamakoa Nui, make sure that they stay there 10 years before they could sell it and make a profit on it. Because the idea is we're just back in the same boat. Also, affordable housing is a lot of the rental incomes of our Airbnbs. There's more regulations coming out on that. So hopefully that not all the Airbnbs will be Airbnbs, and they'll open up their homes to more affordable rental situations and reward that developer that puts something out there that the general worker can come home to his family, have a reasonable rent, and not have to have 3, 4, or 5 jobs to make his house rent.
Hilo resident asks, what would you do to more effectively utilize Hilo Bayfront and Kailua Village for both businesses and tourism?
Well, business and tourism, if you want to compare the two, I don't know if anybody ever seen Lilio's Kalani plan for making a promenade from Kuakini High, or where are we talking about, from Palani all the way out to the old airport. I mean, that's already on the books, and I don't know why it kind of stopped. I know the new brewery place is coming out. I know Mecky's is going in there, and have a boardwalk somewhat, or promenade going out to the park, and you can have walking and little dining and shops. And similar to Hilo, I mean, I know we have civil defense, I know we have tidalways, but it could be greened up. There's something when you drive around that it's so beautiful, that Hilo, but I mean, it's missing that trail or pathways. And a good example of that, what I'd like to see, is what's on Kauai, where they have a bike path and a walking lane along the Makai side of the highway. And if that can be done. I know when I was a parks director that the Hilo trails and greenways, I believe they're called, or path, they work with path and continue that trail, because that's something that tourists like. You know, that's kind of, you know, where they can see the old history. Hilo is such a beautiful town to restore it. So it's a combination of, and Hilo, Kona can be the same way, real similar, both downtowns, to bring economic stimulus to those towns when the tourists come back, and they like that experience. So it's a matter of kind of working with the trails, the path, the promenade approach would, you know, that's something that's with anytime you try to build something next to the shoreline where you got feds, state, and county. Remember, that's a project that's not going to get done in 3 or 4 years, but it's the foundation of getting the right people, the right community members, the right people in research and development, the right people in planning, to be able to sit down, and that would be a B or a C team to keep that project going, because that's a necessity looking down the future. We want a place to leave for our kids, and that's another one of my motivation. And I want to make sure there's a better place for my grandkids as we move forward, looking down the future. And that's definitely a great question, to have both places, both our downtowns, with a vibrant situation going on where people can enjoy themselves.
Now, this next question is a little bit long. This is submitted from an HPP resident. Would you consider the idea of a waste to energy plan being back on the table? I say this because the landfill in Hilo is now closed, and all the waste from East Hawaii is being trucked over to West Hawaii. So in a sense, it would be a ground pollution versus carbon emissions. Technology has advanced a lot in waste to energy around the world to reduce carbon emissions. As mayor, where would you find your balance? And what would your view be for the future of environmental management?
Yeah, that's an easy question, because we can't keep taking our environmental imprint and moving trash to 80, 90 miles to Waikoloa every day. We can't do nothing about that dump. The existing, I would take the whole dump up if I could, but there's going to be a can of worms to it. But why can't we start now taking our waste to energy plant? And I agree with whoever asked that question. There's a lot better technology that we look to the future, easier to make energy from, and more efficient, and maybe a private company to jump in there. It doesn't necessarily have to be the county. You could work with environmental management and put a bid out there. But 100%, we have too many people on the east side of the island. We know they're going to have X amount of rubbish over the next 30, 40 years. That's not going to change. Why don't we start now doing things the Pono way, be right, and looking at taking our waste and making energy? It would definitely be back on the table if I'm there.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and give you about 2 minutes. For a closing statement, you can say whatever you want. Go ahead.
Well, I'm easily long-winded. 2 minutes can be anything. I covered most of the issues that I wanted to. I said my A, B, and C teams. That's how I'm going to get things done. I think I have a passion for the whole island. If I go quickly around the island, there's some unfinished business around it. We all know, yes, I love my parks, but transportation we didn't cover. Our bus system is atrocious. I will jump into that bus system and get it work, get the federal funding, but I'm gonna be very creative on moving people around. I mean, that's the one thing is that, and also our traffic. If you look, we have an East Hawaii traffic. We don't have a West Hawaii traffic. I would put in counterflow lanes immediately. I would immediately take a couple people in in public works and make them work in the afternoon and do traffic both in Hilo, in Kona, and the Waimea. Between the traffic lights, somebody on a call, this is our traffic flow, but the traffic lights are the same at 10 o'clock in the day and they are at 4 o'clock in the day when we're all backed up. So we need a traffic division to be a traffic division, to monitor the flow, to get people to work early in the morning and to get people home. So you'd be looking at me in Hilo and in Kona to do counterflow lanes like they do on Kauai. That's something we missed that I really important to me. And the bus transportation, we're already farming out the Roberts. We have so many vans on our island that we can work with moving people much quicker and efficiently. Keep the big bus routes to get the workers to the big hotels, to get the long routes. But our vans and our county vehicles, I mean, there's just a better way. I have a full plan on people moving. That was my major in college, environmental and plant transportation. And only in the last 10 years am I using my degree. But that's a special to me, is getting people to and from work quicker and combine it with the programs at the parks or activities. I mean, we have all these kids at our park and they have to wait for mom and dad. We don't have our own small vans to take kids home. I mean, that's another thing, you know, if we work with DOE a little better, so we open up our schools and our cafeterias and our playgrounds, we work hand in hand. That's another commitment you'll get from me, is sit down with every principal, every school on this island, your community. What can this county give you to open up your school for our county members? And some schools already do, but I was big with that 5 years ago or 6 years ago across the state. Let's work with DOE, sustained tax dollar. That can help us out. And we have community partnerships with the great non-profits on this island to take up some of the slack while we get through tough economic times. So with me, you're going to look at somebody to communicate with the communities, the nonprofits, and be very transparent and motivate. I'll be transparent, but I'll get this island motivated. I promise you that. It's all about winning. And this is winning for our big, beautiful island that I love so much. And Bronson, I'm so excited, and it's so honorable to work with you, because I still feel very proud about that project that you did. Hopefully they're still printing that for our cemetery. If
They're
right?
still out there.
Is anybody out there? Yeah, what a great project for Eagle Scout was from you. So I just feel blessed to help you out a little bit, and I'm glad to see that you're doing well, and that you're doing this too, that you're still involved, getting all the candidates. Whether I win or lose, Bronson, my hat's off to you for being involved and trying to make this a better place. And that's my motto, is make this place a better place. One island, one heart. Please vote for me, Bob Fitzgerald.
Thank you so much, Coach Bob.
Okay.